Revealed. 3 supernatural signs you're trapped in divine energy templates lacking answered prayer. In the heart of St. Mary's Hollow, where the winds whispered timeless secrets, Sarah, a devoted mother, battled unseen forces. Her son, once lively and bright, now lay frail, consumed by a cruel illness. The villagers, knowing her unwavering faith, gathered nightly outside the ancient stone church, where the bell tolled with a resonance that stirred the deepest soul. Flickering candles danced like prayers on the gentle breeze, illuminating the anguish etched on Sarah's face as she knelt in fervent prayer, clutching an image of St. Jude. "Help me," she whispered, "help my boy." As the days blurred into weeks, the air grew thick with expectation. A peculiar energy began to swirl around her. Just last night, as the clock struck 8, the faithful prayed fervently, and a gentle gust extinguished the candles. Gasps rippled through the crowd, a deep feeling of divine presence enveloping them. One villager claimed she saw a radiant figure behind the altar, shimmering like the dawn. What was happening? It wasn't just the villagers rallying. It was a force. It felt as if the very fabric of heaven was weaving through their plight. As Sarah poured her heart out in prayer, the clock inevitably chimed at the moment she pleaded for a miracle, the echoes of time syncing with her cries. Eyes widened, hearts raced. Was this coincidence or a glimpse of divine design? But some doubted. Father Daniel, touched by something bold during one prayer gathering, stood and boldly proclaimed, "Our trials are a test, a call to awaken our spiritual depths." The congregation froze, absorbing his words. Tension hung thick in the air, sparking a fire of faith that surged through the weeping villagers. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Days passed, and strange occurrences multiplied. Sarah spoke with a dear friend, and their shared stories twisted together like threads of fate. Last summer, it was the most peculiar thing. Her friend said, eyes twinkling, "I prayed to St. Jude right before golden hour, and the sun broke through the clouds a sign." It sent shivers down Sarah's spine, a glimmer of hope sparking amidst her doubts. But distraction lurked close. A family friend presented salvation through medical means that tugged her away from the church's light. It was a dark moment when she felt her faith slipping through her fingers amid the cacophony of science and skepticism. Alone in her room, she wept, cast adrift in uncertainty. The shadow of doubt settled over her heart. She was caught in a web. Then came Sunday, a day laced with anticipation. Inside the church, the warmth wrapped around Sarah like a saved embrace. The air felt electric, heavy with expectation as Father Daniel led the congregation in prayer. And then it happened, a warmth enveloped her, a surge of radiant heat pulsing through her being. Light burst forth, and gasps escaped the lips of the villagers. Sarah felt a wave of power wash over her, and in that sacred moment, they witnessed the impossible. Her son, lying motionless in his corner, sat up, eyes wide, miraculously restored. The congregation erupted into cries of joy, the air igniting with divine energy. Their faith transformed into a collective roar of wonder. But still, unanswered questions lingered like shadows. Why now? What deeper meaning lay within these miracles? As Sarah gazed adoringly at her son, clinging to him like a lifeline, a sense of gratitude surged within, entwined with unease. The journey had only just begun. What lay ahead? In this sacred mystery, the atmosphere inside St. Mary's Hollow Church crackled with a fresh kind of energy. The villagers, taken aback by the extraordinary event, found themselves enveloped in a sweet aroma of hope mingling with disbelief. Sarah, still clasping her son tightly, felt the warmth of that energy settle deep within her heart. She gazed into her son's eyes, now filled with life, and couldn't help but wonder, What had truly changed? Whispers spread like wildfire among the congregation. Is it a miracle? One villager gasped. Did we witness him moving among us? Another said, glancing toward the flickering candles that had once danced in the face of despair. The weight of the moment pressed against them, urging them deeper into their faith. Father Daniel, his heart racing with the surging spirit shared by all, stepped forward. God has touched us tonight, he declared, his voice echoing within the church walls. But this is just the beginning. The divine tide is turning, and we must open our hearts to receive what is laid out before us. His words ignited a fire in the crowd, igniting their belief into something tangible. Sarah, still riding the waves of joy mixed with confusion, whispered silent prayers of gratitude, while also struggling to understand the road ahead. What did this miracle mean? She felt the weight of expectations beginning to settle around her shoulders. Suddenly, a chill ran through her as doubt skulked back in. Was this a one-time event? Or were they meant to move forward into something more profound? As people flooded around her, each seeking to understand, they began to share their individual journeys of faith. An elderly woman recounted a story where her late husband had walked alongside St. Jude in her dreams, encouraging her to hold onto her devotion even in his absence. Others began to recount moments of divine intervention in their own lives, reminders that miracles could, indeed, shake the foundation of reality. In the midst of the joyful chaos, Sarah found solace in her friend's story. She nestled into her memories of past prayers, where hope rose like the sun at dawn, pushing back the shadows. But just as darkness had retreated, Sarah felt the familiar hesitations creeping in again. What if it wasn't real? Shouted the dark corners of her heart. What if it was all just a fluke? Biting her lip, she drew a breath and thought of her son, that beautiful, laughter-filled child who had slipped away from her. As she watched him, vibrant and alive, she felt a flicker of resolve. If God's hand had been upon him tonight, why could it not accompany her deeper into the journey? Father Daniel's voice rose again amidst the commotion, leading them into a time of communal prayer, each voice rising high toward heaven, a tapestry woven through the air. Let us not forget the lessons woven in our trials. Take this miracle, and let it fan the flames of faith in our hearts. As the final echoes of prayer reverberated through the church, Sarah felt a stirring deep within her, a yearning for truth, mixed with a passion to share their story beyond the walls of that sacred place. But the journey would require more than just faith. It would demand courage, a tethering to divine wisdom, and a willingness to walk into the uncharted territory of the Spirit. What awaited Sarah and the villagers beyond this night of awakening? Would the answers they sought bring them closer to the divine or deeper into divine mystery? Each question begged for resolution, and as they departed, Sarah sensed the winds of destiny shifting once again. As dawn painted the sky with hues of lavender and gold, St. Marius Hollow awakened to a world transformed. The church bells chimed softly, a gentle reminder of the night's miraculous events. The villagers, still wrapped in the warmth of divine encounter, filtered into the streets, their hearts alive with renewed hope. Sarah stood at the threshold of her home, her son nestled against her hip, his laugh ringing like music to her ears. Daylight spilled over the landscape, illuminating her own thoughts, a mixture of hope and lingering uncertainty. In her quiet moments, she pondered the uncharted path before them. What would God ask of us now? She wondered. Neighbors exchanged animated accounts, joy spilling over into the open air. Did you see the light? One man exclaimed, his eyes wide with wonder. It was like heaven itself was here among us. His words ignited a chorus of agreement, and the stories flowed, each tale weaving together a shared tapestry of faith. As Sarah joined the growing circle in the village square, she sensed the pulse of something greater than herself, urging her toward connection and understanding. Maybe the miracle was not just for us. Another woman's voice rose, shaky yet strong. Perhaps it is to remind us of all the blessings that have been overlooked in our lives. In that moment, Sarah felt a divine tug, a gentle conviction uncoiling within her, a call to embrace gratitude, not just for the miracle but for every small blessing in her life. Let us make a list, she suggested, her voice cutting through the chatter. Let us write down the ways God has moved in our lives. If we remember our joys, we can carry them forward. The villagers paused, a sacred silence wrapping around them. One by one, they shared personal moments, stories of hope and love, lost and found. A child's laughter, a kind word from a stranger, an answered prayer. Each contribution was a light, illuminating the shadows of doubt. As Sarah listened, her heart swelled. The energy they had felt the night before was taking root. It was a divine seed bursting into life. With every word spoken, the weight of disbelief began to lift, and they found their faith rising together. Yet, as they offered thanks, a deeper question surfaced in Sarah's heart. What if this wasn't just a moment to cherish but a call to action? What will happen if we share this energy, this love, with others? Can miracles happen beyond our little village? Does faith have that kind of power? This thought hung in the air, stretching their minds beyond the borders of their familiar lives. Sarah felt a swell of courage building, a sense of purpose compelling her to step into the unknown. Let us take what we've felt and reach out to those who need hope, she proposed, her voice gaining strength. Together, we can carry this light into spaces where the darkness feels overwhelming. There are many in need of a miracle. The villagers exchanged glances, the spark of possibility igniting within each of them. They began to discuss plans, dreaming of ways to spread their message of hope through service, outreach, and love. As laughter and resolve mingled in that small square, a sudden gust of wind swept through, carrying with it whispers from beyond, echoes of promise and the unknown. They paused, stillness wrapping around them once more. Sarah looked into the eyes of her son and felt the weight of something more significant hovering on the edge of their hearts. What awaited them beyond their plans? Would they encounter challenges that tested their newfound faith? As the day unfolded, they realized they stood at the threshold of a grand journey. The essence of divine mystery beckoned them to take the leap. Would their acts of love become the extraordinary manifestations of hope they sought? Only time would reveal the extent of their calling. In the days that followed, the resolve among the villagers only deepened. The sun hung high in the sky, casting a golden glow that seemed to wrap around them like a holy embrace. Sarah felt as if each ray was a reminder of the call they had made. Now it was time to turn intention into action. Gathered together again in the village square, the group brainstormed ideas with an eagerness that bubbled over. Bright-eyed children laughed in the background, their joy infectious. The elders exchanged knowing glances, recognizing the powerful energy blooming among the youth. Let us visit the neighboring town, suggested Daniel, a young man with a heart full of compassion. I've heard they've been struggling lately. Perhaps they need a spark of our light. The villagers nodded, feeling the weight of his suggestion shimmer with possibility. But how do we reach them? Someone chimed in. Our village is just a small dot on the map. What can we do that truly matters? Sarah felt the thread of doubt thread through the crowd, but instead of succumbing to discouragement, she spoke out. God doesn't measure by size. He uses ordinary people to create extraordinary change, just as he did with us. Her words hung in the air, and a powerful sense of connection surged through them. As they began to plan, small pockets of prayer encircled through the gathering. A soft murmur drifted like incense into the sky, filling the space with an atmosphere of sacred intent. Within each heart, a quiet strength began to cultivate a belief that they were not mere bystanders, but active participants in something much larger. In that moment, Sarah closed her eyes and felt the warmth of faith envelop her. What if we created care packages? She proposed, her voice steady now, reflecting the boldness growing inside. Simple gifts of food, clothes, and love to take with us. They might need to know they're not alone. The villagers began to move, gathering supplies, smiles weaving through their conversations. The act of giving became a renewed joy, a divine rhythm pulsing through their hands, as they packed each item with intention. Yet amid the excited buzz, a shadow danced in the background of Sarah's mind. A voice whispered doubts too familiar. What if they laugh at you? What if they ignore your gifts? Is this truly what you're meant to do? but she pushed it away, focusing on the faces surrounding her and the love wrapped in their collective hearts. As evening approached, a sense of anticipation hung thick in the air. They would set off early the next day. Families promised to lend their services, while the children pledged to create heartfelt cards to include in each package a simple yet profound reminder of connection. That night, as Sarah tucked her son into bed, she felt a surge of tenderness wash over her. She pressed a soft kiss to his forehead, whispering silent prayers of courage and clarity. "What is it you want me to learn, God?" she pondered. In her dreams, she wandered through a field of bright wildflowers under a vibrant sky. Each flower represented a life waiting to bloom, each one unique yet collectively beautiful. The beauty surrounded her like an echo of hope, and she understood. Every act of love could indeed create a ripple, reaching far beyond what they could see. Morning broke, and the villagers gathered with newfound energy. As they set out toward the neighboring town, an exhilarating sense of divine purpose pulsed among them. What awaited them along the journey? Would their compassion be met with open arms? In the quiet moments of their travel, could they catch a glimpse of the divine revelations hidden within each encounter? As they walked, the world stretched out before them, full of both promise and uncertainty. And somewhere in the unknown, an answer lingered just out of reach. The day dawned clear and bright, the sun casting a warm embrace over the villagers as they began their trek. They moved in unison, a tapestry of purpose woven from shared hope and faith. Sarah felt her heart beat with the rhythm of prayer on their lips, mingling with the gentle rustle of leaves and the chorus of chirping birds. As they walked, conversations flowed like a shimmering stream. Children skipped ahead, their laughter a joyous melody in the air. The villagers spoke of the lives they would touch, the joy they hoped to ignite within those who felt lost. Each step felt lighter, as if the presence of God was guiding their path. After a while, Daniel slowed, gazing toward the horizon where the neighboring town lay hidden beneath the gentle rise of hills. What if we're not enough? He pondered aloud, voicing a fear many felt but few dared to admit. Sarah paused, her mind racing with the countless stories she had heard of faith in action. "Remember the boy with 5 loaves and 2 fish? She reminded them, her voice steady, filled with the kind of faith that builds bridges instead of walls. "He fed thousands. If we offer what we have, God will bless it." Nods and murmurs of agreement rippled through the group. Doubts had momentarily unveiled themselves, but they began to shift like shadows retreating before the dawn. As the town came into view, Sarah could feel her pulse quicken. They approached a modest community that seemed to echo their own existence: small homes, flickering lights, and an atmosphere tinged with weariness. A deep resolve settled in her soul. They were indeed here to share more than supplies. They were here to share presence, kindness, and compassion. With their care packages arranged, they entered the town. A few curious faces emerged from doorways, eyes wide with intrigue. Nervously, Sarah stepped forward. "We come in love," she said, the words spilling from her heart. "We want to support you in your struggles." A young woman stepped out, hands clasped nervously in front of her. "Why?" she asked, confusion etched across her face. "What do you want in return?" This question hung in the air almost like a test. Sarah took a deep breath, sensing the importance of this moment. "Nothing," she replied simply, her eyes locking onto the woman's. "We want simply to remind you that you are not alone." The young woman's expression softened, a spark of understanding igniting within her. Sarah felt the warmth of connection like an unseen thread binding them together. As the villagers dispersed, engaging with the townsfolk, laughter began to bloom. Care packages were handed out amidst smiles and hesitant embraces. Each interaction seemed to light a new flame of hope. Like prayers being answered, the weary spirits of the townsfolk began to lift. But then, as they handed out their offerings, a sudden gust of wind swept through, casting leaves swirling into the air. Uncertain eyes turned to Sarah, as if nature herself was punctuating the moment. "The spirit is here," she whispered, feeling chills run down her spine. It was then that she noticed an elderly gentleman watching from a distance, his gaze deeper than the sea. His presence radiated wisdom and sorrow, but also something more, a glimmer of faith long buried but not forgotten. "Why does he stand apart?" someone murmured, pointing toward him. Sarah felt a tug at her heart. Was he waiting for something or someone? As she moved closer, the crowd faded away, and her surroundings blurred into the background. She held her breath, hearts aligning as her feet carried her to him. What wisdom might this man hold? And what could he reveal about the path that lay ahead? In that instant, she realized the unknown was not something to fear. It was filled with promise. What transformation awaited them in the heart of a stranger? How would this encounter change everything? As the wind swirled around them, she could sense the threads of destiny weaving together, bridging gaps between lost souls and rekindled spirits. And just like that, their journey had deepened into something far beyond what they had imagined. As Sarah approached the elderly gentleman, a divine stillness enveloped them, as though time paused just for this moment. His eyes met hers, and in them, she saw stories, struggles, and countless prayers. An unspoken connection sparked between them, bridging the gap of years and experiences. "Hello, dear," he spoke, his voice a gentle rumble like distant thunder. "You come with the light of hope, but can you see the shadows too?" His words hung in the air, heavy yet illuminating. Sarah hesitated, feeling the weight of his question. Shadows? Yes, she had heard tales of despair and loss in this town, but amidst the laughter and joy they had just shared, the shadows seemed far away. Yet there was something compelling about his gaze. "I have seen the brokenness," he continued, his brow furrowing as memories played across his face. "This weary town holds wounds, unseen layers of hurt hidden behind smiles. To heal them, you must first understand their depth." Her heart swelled with compassion as he spoke, the truth resonating within. She recalled the many times she navigated her own shadows. Wasn't this journey about lifting each other up, sharing light in the darkness? "What can we do?" she asked, desperate for insight. The man considered her for a moment, then said, "Give more than bread. Give presence, give time, give your heart. Let them know you care. But more importantly, let them feel that God cares." His words wrapped around her like a warm embrace, pushing her faith deeper. A murmur spread through their small gathering as villagers began to notice the connection forming between Sarah and the elderly man. They drew closer, their curiosity piqued. He shared stories of the town's history, of the struggles each family had faced, the losses, the heartaches, the lingering loneliness. Yet intertwined with every tale was a thread of resilient stories of moments when Goddess Grace had illuminated their darkness, even if they had not recognized it at the time. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting everything in hues of orange and gold, Sarah felt a renewed sense of purpose. "Let us gather together and pray," she said to the group, her voice steady, radiant with determination. "Let us invite God to heal these wounds." The villagers looked at one another, a collective understanding forged in the presence of this remarkable man and his wisdom. They formed a circle, hands clasped tight, and Sarah felt the electricity of their shared faith flickering through them. As they prayed, Sarah sensed something transformative happening in the surroundings. The wind danced again, whispering secrets of hope. She could almost hear the angels singing, their voices merging with the fervent prayers of those gathered. Moments later, the elderly gentleman raised his voice above the crowd. "Faith works not just in removal of obstacles, but in acknowledging and embracing them. Don't shy away from the shadows, for in understanding them, you become the light that dispels them." His fierce yet tender delivery resonated deeply, filling each villager's heart with a purpose beyond their imagination. Could they be agents of change? After the prayer, smiles bloomed wider, and they began to share their dreams, fears, and aspirations openly. But in the growing warmth, a small ripple of uncertainty still lingered in Sarah's chest. What if their presence offered comfort, yet did not instigate the deeper change needed? A flicker of doubt sparked within, but she quickly hushed it. The man's gaze met hers once more, as if reading her heart. The answers lie not in your actions alone, but in the way you walk with others. Kindness is contagious. Just as hope surged within the group, a chorus of approaching footsteps suddenly cut through the atmosphere, the sound of shuffling and anxious voices surrounding them. What was unfolding beyond their circle? Sarah's heart raced. The hair on the back of her neck prickled. Was there something more significant at play? Would they be ready for what lay ahead? Would they uncover even deeper shadows on their path? Or was this merely the beginning of a divine adventure? The unfolding moments promised both challenges and revelations. The next step in their journey was unknown, but they faced it together, uniting in faith and commitment. Would they be ready to embrace whatever God had planned for them? The footsteps grew louder, an echoing thrum that felt like a heartbeat resonating in the gathered crowd. As shadows cast longer with the setting sun, anticipation buzzed thick in the air. Sarah felt a charge of something surreal, a stirring of energy that shifted her focus from gratitude to the uncertainty looming just beyond their circle. A figure emerged, panting slightly as they broke through the throng of villagers. It was Michael, a young man known for his warmth and laughter, now pale and breathless. "Sarah," he gasped, "you need to see this. It's urgent." The crowd's unity broke momentarily. Murmured questions surged as eyes darted between Sarah and Michael. The elderly man stepped forward, his expression shifting to concern. "What troubles you, child?" he asked, his voice a soothing balm amidst the rising murmurs. "There is a disturbance near the old well," Michael said, urgency punctuating his words. "I swear, I saw shadows moving shadows that shouldn't be. They're gathering and I think we need to do something." Instinctively, Sarah felt an electric tingle of attention envelop her. Shadows? The very concept that had given rise to this gathering now threatened to unearth a deeper mystery. The villagers listened raptly, their curiosity ignited, shadows seeming more tangible than before, more immediate. "What sort of shadows?" Sarah questioned, her voice steady despite the rising unease in her heart. "Are we speaking of spirits, or something else?" Michael swallowed hard, nodding gravely. "I don't know, but it felt dark, like a weight pressing down on me. I could hear whispers, not words but desires, fears, pain." The elderly gentleman frowned, his brow furrowed with contemplation. Familiar spirits can manifest in many forms. They are a reflection of the collective heart, the hurt, and the unyielding dreams that remain unfulfilled. Our prayer has called them forth to be recognized. The revelation settled heavily, a gravity that pressed on their hearts. Sarah's spirit wrestled with the excitement of possibility and the fear of confronting what lay hidden. "What do we do?" she asked, echoing their collective uncertainty. "We must gather our strength," the old man replied thoughtfully. "If these shadows are to be addressed, we must illuminate them with truth. Light cannot be quashed by fear. It thrives upon it. Gather your faith. Bring the stories and prayers with you. Embrace the darkness. Only then can we reclaim what has been lost." With a determined nod, Sarah turned to the villagers, their faces painted in hues of resolve. "Let us go to the well together," she urged. "Let us shine our light where despair has murmured. We'll confront what has been hidden, and together we'll reveal God's grace." They moved as one, a united force, hearts racing with purpose. The glow of their faith illuminated the encroaching darkness as they approached the well. As they reached its edge, the air thickened, electricity crackling around them. Sarah felt a shift, as if the ground was alive with history, an unveiling waiting to occur. And then, a whisper stole through the air, soft yet insistent. "Fear not," the voice echoed softly, wrapping around them like a comforting embrace. Every measure of doubt began to fade, but it was replaced with a new kind of challenge. What lay beneath the surface? What truths would rise from these depths? Would they emerge transformed? Or would they uncover deeper shadows than they had ever faced? The questions hung in the twilight, a tantalizing promise of what lay just beyond the veil. The villagers stood at the edge of the well, their hearts pounding in unison. Sarah could feel a pulse of energy emanating from the depths below, a beckoning vibration that invited them closer. The air was thick with a heady mix of fear and curiosity, yet hope shimmered like a thread weaving through their thoughts. "Ready your hearts," the elderly man said, his voice steady. "We are standing at a threshold. A moment of divine revelation awaits us." He raised his hands, palms open, and the crowd instinctively mirrored him, summoning their faith even stronger. As they concentrated, the low murmurs of prayer filled the air. Sarah closed her eyes, feeling the warmth of their unity surround her like a gentle blanket. Each voice became a beacon, lifting her spirit. But as she breathed in their shared hope, the shadows at the well's edge began to swirl more rapidly. "Glory!" shouted a voice from the back of the crowd. The sound caught everyone's attention. "Do you feel it? Something is changing." Indeed, they felt it, a draft stirring as if the earth itself were exhaling. Sarah opened her eyes and raised her gaze down into the empty well. Little by little, a soft luminescence began to glow in the darkness, emanating as if from a source deep within. "Look!" Michael pointed, his voice filled with wonder. "The shadows, they are shifting." The dim glow illuminated not just the well, but the faces of the villagers as well. Flickering lights danced across their features, revealing expressions caught between awe and trepidation. Each pulse of light revealed snippets of memories, joy, laughter, pain, and sorrow alike. "No more hiding," Sarah cried, emboldened by the growing radiance. "We are here to bring our stories into the light, to seek healing." The whispers intensified, a cacophony of emotion rising from the well. Sarah felt their collective stories vibrating in the air, lifting burdens long carried. "Release," she shouted into the depths. "We release our fears. We surrender our pain." In that moment, the glow turned blinding, engulfing the night and the villagers in divine warmth. A rush of air swept by, billowing their clothes and lifting strands of hair. The shadows began to retreating into the edges of the well, submitting to the light that had emerged from their midst. Yet as the brilliance surged, the well began to echo with laughter, sweet, innocent, joyful laughter that felt reminiscent of childhood. It was like a melody threaded throughout the sacred space, pulling at the heartstrings of everyone present. "What is this?" a woman asked with wide eyes, her voice barely above a whisper. "It's the spirit of their dreams," replied the elderly man, his voice carrying a tremor of awe. "They long to be seen realized. This laughter, it is their yearning for life, for freedom." The laughter echoed in harmony with the fervent prayers that still hung in the air. But even amid this exuberance, a shadow lingered at the well's brink. Darker and heavier than the rest, it pulsed with a kind of dreadful insistence. "What of that?" Michael gasped, pointing toward the retreating shadow. Sarah felt a pang of fear ripple through her. "We face it together," she declared. "We cannot let one shadow dim the grace of our light." The villagers rallied, hands joined, hearts resolute. What was hidden must be revealed. "We will not be afraid," they called out, their voices a symphony of resolve. As they summoned the strength of their unity, the dark shadow swelled, filling the void left by the retreating light. A whisper threaded through the air, heavy with despair. "You think you can conquer me?" "We can," Sarah replied, her heart pounding in time with the rhythm of their collective faith. "For we move as one, and in truth, darkness can never overcome the light." And just as the words took flight, silence fell upon them like a veil. What would they do next? Would they stand their ground in the face of darkness? Or would they discover a truth even greater than the trials they faced? The quiet swelled, a mere breath before the storm. The silence stretched infinitely, thick with anticipation. As the villagers stood united, an unseen weight pressed down, challenging their resolve. Sarah glanced around, catching the worried expressions of her friends. Yet, she also saw the flicker of bravery igniting within their eyes. "Remember who we are," she said softly, her voice steadying like a lantern in the dark. "We are woven together, a tapestry of hope and faith." The crowd murmured their agreement, a swell of strength rising from their hearts. The darkness pulsed again, thrumming with energy. "Your light is but a flicker in the abyss," it hissed, full of scorn. "You cannot dispel me. Light is life," shouted Michael, courage surging in him. "And together, we shine brighter." With a collective gasp, the villagers raised their hands higher, drawing upon their shared spirit. The air vibrated with their unity, an electric crackle that seemed to reach into the well itself. The shadows shrank back slightly, as if recoiling from their combined presence. "Let the light of truth emerge," Sarah called, feeling every heartbeat of the crowd harmonize with hers. It was a profound moment, a reminder of the strength that lay within vulnerability. They were no longer just individuals. They were a legion, an unyielding force against despair. The laughter from the depths grew louder, weaving in and out like a playful melody. "Can you feel it? The joy of being seen," came a sweet voice, echoing from within the well. "Let it fill your hearts." The villagers exchanged glances, their fears ebbing slowly as hope poured in like a golden stream. The laughter, a balm for their souls, resonated within them. It called for release, for authenticity, a divine invitation to embrace both darkness and light. What if it's true? Sarah wondered aloud, as ideas began to dance through her mind. What if the shadows are not our enemies but teachers, guiding us to heal? The intensity in the air shifted again. The shadow trembled, as if sensing the shift in focus. "Foolish hearts, you believe you can learn from me?" It snarled, each word heavy with ancient pain. "We can," Sarah replied with conviction. "For every shadow contains a lesson. Every wound can be transformed into wisdom." Suddenly, the light erupted from the well, an explosion of brilliance that swept over the villagers like a gentle wave, a wave of golden hope. The laughter transformed into a melody so pure, it resonated deep within their very souls. As they basked in warmth, Sarah began to see visions. Scenes of their village's forgotten joys, love stories lost, dreams abandoned. The laughter somehow wove their hearts together like threads through a vast loom. "Release it," the elderly man urged, his voice steady and calm. "Release the burdens of the past. Let them ascend. Let it go." The villagers urged each other, letting their fears fade away. Tears of joy mixed with laughter as burdens lifted like leaves blown away by the wind. Yet amid the joy, the dark shadow loomed heavier, struggling against its own existence. "Why must you cling to your light?" cried, weakening. "What do you think you can conquer?" "By loving ourselves," Michael shouted, conviction surging through him. "By acknowledging you as part of our experience." At that moment, the darkness flickered uncertainly, revealing glimpses of its once mighty form. For just a heartbeat, it looked diminished, a vestige trembling in the warm embrace of light. With the well now brimming with both laughter and sorrow, the villagers continued to sing, lifting their hearts higher. Sarah's voice resonated with divine authority. "Together we can heal, we can transform. We are the beacons of light in a dark world, believers who choose hope." As the darkness hovered, now less of a force and more of a whisper, Sarah felt the prayer rise within them all. Hope surged, and their voices blended into one powerful chant. "Release, transform, heal." And as they called, the echoing power surged, feeding the light. Yet amid the jubilation, what of the deeper truths still unlabeled? Was this merely a moment, or was something greater at work? With a flicker, the shadows surrendered but lingered, hinting at a mystery yet unrevealed. What awaited when they crossed the threshold of understanding? In the moments that followed, the villagers' unified voices enveloped the air like a sacred hymn. The weight of the dark shadow began to dissolve, yet a residual presence remained, a reminder of all that had been hidden within their hearts. As the last notes of their chant faded, silence poured over the well, thick and still. Sarah took a deep breath, the air heavy with anticipation. "What now?" she whispered, her heart racing. The old man stepped forward, still emanating that wisdom only time could bestow. "Now we must reflect. The shadows that linger are not simply reminders of despair but signals of the lessons yet to be learned. It's in our acknowledgement that healing begins." He gestured toward the well, urging them all to gaze into its depths. Peering into it might unveil a path forward, a transformation born from understanding. Gingerly, the villagers leaned closer, their hearts pounding with curiosity. What secrets lay beneath? As Sarah looked into the well, she felt an urge to recount her own story, her son's illness, her fears, her quest for answers. Suddenly, visions danced before her eyes. Her son's laughter, moments of joy, and the joy of connection she had nearly lost amidst her despair. The laughter that echoed from the well intertwined with her memories, each ripple a reminder of the love that had surrounded her all along. Each shadow could teach us to embrace gratitude. Sarah spoke, feeling empowered by the realization. It's a journey that leads us back to hope, showing us that every loss holds space for new growth. With her words, something strummed deep within the hearts of the villagers. They each began to share their stories, confessions of pain, dreams unfulfilled, moments overlooked. The shadow no longer felt like an adversary but a catalyst for deeper connections and collective healing. Father Daniel, standing tall, raised his hands to divide the weight of unease. Let us transform these shadows into stepping stones. Together we will witness the beauty in our struggles. The elderly gentleman nodded in agreement, adding, true light thrives when we embrace both the light and the dark. Let us carry not only our victories but the lessons hidden in our wounds. As they shared, tears glimmered like tiny windows to the soul. They cherished their pain, recognizing how it had made them who they were. And as eyes met, the energy of acceptance surrounded them, weaving a tapestry rich with empathy. Suddenly, the darkness quivered, sensing this renewed energy. You think you've dispelled me? You are mistaken. She shrieked, but Sarah stood tall. We acknowledge you as part of our journey. You are not our enemy. You are our teacher. The remaining shadow wavered, then began to shrink, revealing beneath it shimmering threads of gold that danced like the flames of their prayers. We welcome you into our light, Sarah declared, inviting the shadow to join their transformation. The space pulsated with a holy light, filling the well with brilliant colors and warmth. Sarah realized that shadows were always a part of the human experience. They existed to teach resilience, compassion, and the depth of goddess love. As the last remnants of darkness dissolved into a gentle breeze, laughter erupted from the villagers. Joyful cheers filled the air like an exultant symphony. They had turned their pain into purpose. Now, standing in a radiant circle around the well, the villagers felt an extraordinary presence. It was as if the Spirit of God Himself had stepped into their midst, blessing their authentic journey towards connection and compassion. This is our calling, Sarah proclaimed, filled with buoyancy from the joy around her. Let us reach out. Let us spread this energy and remind others that they are never alone. It's time to love fiercely. Each villager nodded, hearts swelling with renewed conviction. They resolved to take the light of their shared experiences back to their homes, to share what they had learned with others, to heal wounds unseen in the souls they touched. As they gathered their belongings, Sarah felt a wellspring of peace settle within her. There were countless hearts in need. Each procession of faith was a chance to shine a beacon for those who felt lost. With thoughtful smiles exchanged, they walked from the well, knowing that even in their journey, shadows would come again, but now, they carried understanding, unity, and light. Miracles were not just extraordinary events, but the daily acts of love that connected them all. This was divine energy manifesting in their hearts, a testament to faith and resilience. In St. Mary's Hollow and beyond, hope traveled far and wide. They had weathered the storm together and emerged transformed, ready to illuminate the path for others, confident that with each shared story and act of kindness, the light would continue to shine brighter. The sun dipped below the horizon, and a brilliant tapestry of colors illuminated the skies above. The villagers turned to one another, knowing their lives would never be the same. Their journey of faith was just beginning as the final rays of sunlight embraced their village. A whisper filled the air, a reminder echoed in every heart: go forth and spread the light. In that sacred moment, faith became unstoppable. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive faith stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm. Make the message reach more souls. Comment your reactions and testimonies about this miraculous ending your voice matters. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation. Don't wait even one more second to share. True servants of God understand the importance of uplifting others through these actions.